seems so fundamental to ask the question, who am I? And it can be easily answered, superficially anyway, but much more, a deeper intention for that question requires us to look more deeply than we typically do. And really the quintessential question of spiritual life is to know who we are, is to really know who we truly are. Because in the course of the human experience, we have come to a self-concept. We have come to the person we think that we are. And that has been a conditioned identity. And although that serves us in many ways in the world, it doesn't serve us ultimately when we are trying to be free, when we are trying to be free of suffering. Because a conditioned self also has so many conditions that it constantly insists upon in order for it to be okay. And so if we are to find that place that Jesus talked about, that peace that passeth all human understanding, then our understanding of ourselves must run much deeper than the self that we created, that was sort of foisted upon this infinite loving being that we all are, that we took on this costume, we took on this persona, we took on these beliefs and these ideas about ourselves in order to function in the world. And again, they have their value, because we do need to understand that we can't be taking each other's stuff, out of a sense of oneness, right? We have to respect these boundaries and so forth. But if we sense that this boundary of myself, if we don't have a deeper appreciation that boundary is only self-imposed and it's not actually true, then we never get to that place where we can feel the connection with the fullness of life, with that love is the pervading basis of who and what we are. And so the spiritual life is not about adding anything to ourselves. My God, we've done enough of that, yeah? We have added on since the day we popped into this world, and it was a rude awakening. It was suddenly we went from this very protected, crucible of safety into the world. And so we immediately had to begin to think, how do we protect this? How do we protect this? And so now we're learning, as we're trying to find out who we really are, we realize that we have to begin to pull away some of these concepts of ourselves, some of these false understandings of who we are, so that we can sort of work our way back to our original nature. And so I'm excited to work this next 5 weeks with the book, The Untethered Soul, which many of you are familiar with. Many of you probably have read it. How many people have read this book before? A lot of people. Okay, so it's a repeat for you, but this is the kind of book that you could just work with as a lifetime, because it does a very good job of simplifying the process of spiritual awakening. And it does so by mindfully and gradually walking us backward from who we think we are to who we truly are. And it does it in somewhat of a comical way, so we don't get too serious about this whole thing. And so we're going to do that for the next 5 weeks. And I want to start today with the first chapter where he talks about the voice inside your head. Does anyone know about the voice inside your head? So some of this stuff, some of this dialogue, and you can relate to this. He starts, he says, shoot, I can't remember her name. What is her name? Darn. Here she comes. What is it? Sally? Sue? She just told me yesterday. What's the matter with me? This is going to be embarrassing. So, just this whole little rap that's going on all the time. He says, in case you haven't noticed, you have a mental dialogue going on inside your head that never stops. It just keeps going and going. Have you ever wondered why it talks in there? How does it decide what to say and when to say it, right? And how much of what it says turns out to be true? And how much of it that it says is even important, all right? Do we know this? Yes. So it says, if you're smart, of course you all are, you will take the time to step back, examine this voice, and get to know it better. The problem is you're too close to it to be objective. You have to step back and watch it converse. So he says, while you're driving, you may hear an internal conversation like this. Wasn't I supposed to call Fred? I should have. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot. He's going to be so mad. He may never talk to me again. Maybe I should stop and call him right now. No, I don't want to stop the car right now. Notice that the voice takes both sides of the conversation, right? It doesn't care which side it takes, just as long as it keeps on talking, right? When you're tired and you're trying to go to sleep, there's the voice inside you that says, what am I doing? I can't get to sleep yet. I forgot to call Fred. I remembered in the car, but I didn't call him then. If I don't call now, oh, wait, it's too late. I shouldn't call him now. I don't even know why I thought about it. I need to fall asleep. Oh, shoot, now I can't fall asleep. I'm not tired anymore, but I have a big day tomorrow and I have to get up early. Blah, 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 blah. It's no wonder we can't get to sleep, right? By the way, we got our friends here today. I just want to introduce you. Reverend Sonia and Hal Milton. They are both Unity ministers and good friends of ours. Just stand up for a minute. Yes. And these beloved friends of ours, they actually came out of Unity of Santa Barbara. They were attending here back in the late 80s, isn't that right? And they heard the call to go to ministerial school and left here in 1989 to become Unity ministers. And they have been doing ministry in various shapes and forms ever since. And Reverend Sonia was here this weekend to work with our Board of Trustees, doing a board training, orientation retreat, and we had a fantastic experience. So thank you so much for being here and staying on for our Sunday. We appreciate you both very much. So anyway, so we have this voice in our head, and it's just constantly speaking to us. And the problem is that we begin to think that we are the voice in the head, yeah? But we're not the voice in the head. Who are you? If you're not the voice in your head, then who are you? The person who hears the voice. Or maybe it's not even the person who hears the voice, but maybe the one who hears the voice, yeah? Yeah. So the whole contention of this book is that who and what we really are is that which is constantly in a state of awareness, but we've become so focused on what we're aware of that we have lost the sense of the fact that we can just be aware, that I can just notice life from a standpoint of just conscious awareness. Does this make any sense to you? Now, this actually is the simplest way to spiritual enlightenment, is that if we can become more aware of sort of the witness, that which is sort of can sit and watch our life unfold. And when we say our life unfold, it's not just the events of our life, but it's actually the dialogue that goes on in our head, the thoughts that we have, the stories that we have. That instead of getting lost in those stories, if I can realize that I'm listening, that I am the one that can sort of chronicle this. If I was to be like a reporter, I would be saying, now I'm thinking about this, and now I'm thinking about that, and I'm worrying about this, and now I'm feeling sad, and I'm feeling angry, and now I'm feeling happy. All of that is happening, but some part of you is seeing that, and it's not being affected by all of those ups and downs and all of that drama that's unfolding in your life. And that is what all of the spiritual masters have said, is who are you prior to the body, the sensations, the perceptions, the thoughts, and the feelings? Is there an ability that you can pull yourself back so that you don't get lost in the experiences of your life and become so identified with them that you forget the one who is observing, seeing, noticing, being aware? So this becomes a sense of what we would call have subjective awareness, that thoughts and feelings are objects that arise, yes, in the field of our consciousness or of our awareness. But who is the one that notices these things? Who knows if someone says, if you say to me, I'm feeling sad, who knows? Who knows that you're feeling sad? Who is the one that knows that? There isn't, sadness is not self-knowing. Must be some awareness, some intelligence that knows it. And that becomes, it's like turning our light around, turning our focus around from looking out at life and thinking reality is everything that we're seeing and identifying with that, and turning our focus around to the part of us that is capable of noticing and seeing how life sort of happens out here. So we're going to, at the end of this message here, we're going to do a little experiment with that. We're going to begin to become familiar, because this actually is probably the most powerful spiritual technique that you can do if you truly want to be free of that constant discursive mind that causes us to suffer. Yes? Because isn't it true that it isn't what happens to you in your life, but how you respond to it that determines your level of suffering or freedom? Do you not know, maybe in your own experience or other people's experience, where there's people that go through things that are very, very difficult, and they don't diminish that these things are happening in their life, but they seem to be sitting someplace that is somehow removed from being at the effect of that. In other words, there's no story of suffering that goes with the circumstance. There is just the isness of it. And the isness of things has no suffering component in it. It is when I identify with a particular situation and make up the meaning of that particular thing that I suffer. I can think that life can be against me if something happens to me. And then I have to constantly try to avoid that situation or that circumstance in order to be okay. That my ability to be happy in life is so tenuous, because if I'm externally referenced and externally focused all the time, then I always have to get life to be different than what it is. And even when I get it the way I want it, have you noticed that a new problem arises? It's the very nature of that part of our mind that it is entirely conditional. And it never, ever rests. It is what we call the sense of separation, or the ego. The ego is not an actual thing. The ego is a concept of self that believes that I am a separate entity apart from the rest of life. And we created that in order to live in this world. And now if we want to ameliorate or alleviate the suffering that we feel in life, we have to begin to pull back from that notion of who we are. Otherwise, our life will be a constant series of anxiety, frustration, and unfulfilled happiness. How does that sound? Have you noticed how that may be a life appearing near yours at times? And many of us who have sort of lived out this notion of what would be an idealized life, you know, the certain level of success and so forth, and sort of getting to the end of that and finding out that ain't it. And that is a really great place to go. It's the idea of coming to the end of a particular theory or thought system of what makes for a good life and hitting that wall. And it requires you to either like, okay, I'm going to jump over this wall and there's got to be a better world out there, or to use that hitting of the wall as a turning point to turn back around and to say, if my happiness and my fulfillment is not in this world, then where must it be? Then it must be in the world in which I judge and label, decide how life is. And that's where we have choice. That's where we have the ability to make a difference in how we experience life. We can't control everything out here, have we noticed? But we certainly can control and have a sense of our reaction and our relationship with life when we can get back to the part of us that is not disturbed by what happens. Some spiritual teacher, Nisargadatta, I think Maharaj said, I don't mind what happens. That was his last words before he passed. I don't mind what happens. He didn't say I don't care what happens. He said, I don't mind what happens. And see, you have to be in a place where you are you're not insensitive, but you are aware of this part of you that cannot be disturbed, which is that same part of you when you were 5 years old and you were aware of being a self. I am, your sense of existence. And then when you were 15, and then when you were 25, and now you're 50, or whatever age you are, that part of you has not changed, has it? Now, the body has certainly changed, and circumstances have certainly changed, but the I am, the sense of I am, has not. And that has seen you through all of these experiences and has been unperturbed, unupset, undiminished, strong. And this is your true nature. This is who you are. This is who I am. And every spiritual master has been trying to find their own words and their own language to guide us back to this essential self. And so this book is going to be this very process for us over the next 5 weeks. It has a number of techniques, a number of practices that we can do in order to begin to dismantle this false self, to begin to see that it's not who we are. It's who we have taken ourselves to be, who I think that I am. But when I think that I am this person that is so defined by circumstances, by my body, by my mind, by what's happening in my life, again, it becomes such a vulnerable identity that it is constant in need of protection and polishing and, all the things that it needs in order to be okay. It's very, very needy. Have you noticed? Yes. So I'm going to run through some of these points, and these are going to be, these are the points to ponder that the groups will have to work with. And if you'd like to pick up a copy, they will be over on the connection spot today. So number one, the quintessential question of all spiritual seeking is, who am I? Number two, self-knowledge is a subtraction process. Unlearning who and what we think we are can reveal our true, essential, natural self. Number three, you are not the voice in your mind. Whew, wow. Is that a relief? Yes? You are just the one who hears it. Be aware that you are the one hearing the voice and come to know the one who hears the voice. Number five, the only way to find peace and contentment is to stop thinking about yourself. Is that even possible, you say? Number six, subject-object relationship. You are the witness, the subject. The object is what you are seeing. Number seven, you gain freedom by objectively watching your problems instead of being lost in them. Watching. Oh, there's a problem. My tire's flat. Okay. And staying back enough really allows us to be in a place of clarity and wisdom. But if we become the one with the problem, then we've become diminished by the circumstance, and then we are lost in judgment, and we have diminished our capacity to be creative and truly of use in that situation. So staying back has great practical application. Number eight, consciousness is pure awareness. There is nothing higher and nothing deeper. So all of you have heard that, enlightenment is this amazing thing, where you're going to hear angels, a chorus of angels, and there's going to be light, descending and doves falling down, and and you have to go to a mountaintop, and you will just be transported to another dimension, and you will be told things that only the very few have heard, and that ain't it. Those are what they call spiritual epiphanies, or epiphanies. And if that is not that's not indicative that you have woken up. The only indication that you have woken up is when you become aware of your true self, and that pervades your day-to-day experience. Consciousness is pure awareness, as I said. And your true place is the seat of consciousness. This is where the real you lives and has its being. So we've heard it said sometimes, take the seat of consciousness. Take the seat. In other words, in this situation, take the seat. Get into the observation tower, so to speak, and sit there and see what is happening out here. See what is arising. What is arising in terms of your body. You may feel sensations in your body, but rather than getting lost in sensations and immediately going, oh my God, I'm getting a stomach ache, I'm getting a flu, I'm getting a headache, going into story about it, just notice the pure perception. Just, oh, there's a little flutter here, or there's a little pressure here, and just don't label it. Stay as an observer, like you would be the most objective diagnostician. Thank you. Joan's got the words, almost always got the words for me. And then what differentiates a conscious-centered person from one who is not is the focus of their awareness. The most conscious people you will meet will be the people who are not focused on what is out there to determine their reality, but they retain a sense of their own being. They're back here in the seat of awareness, which is unbounded, because back in this place of awareness, there is no limits. Whereas when we go to getting our reality from looking at an object, we feel it defined by the form that we're looking at. And of course, if we look at ourselves, we can feel that we're defined by the form of our bodies, or the content of our mind, or our emotions. But awareness has no such limitations. And so the truly conscious person is the one who focuses on the capacity just to be aware, just aware. And lastly, who are you? I am the one who sees. From back here somewhere, I look out, and I am aware of the events, the thoughts, and the emotions that pass before me. So let's take a moment to take this thought into a time of reflection. I invite you to put everything down for a moment. So I just invite you to take a deep breath right now, and then as you expel it, just settle into the chair. Feel the support of the earth beneath your feet, grounding yourself here. And do this again, another deep breath. And just sink into your chair and just feel the sense of just peace, that you're safe as a sanctuary for your being. And we take this proverbial question of who am I? And we ask ourselves, who am I? And see what arises. You may call to mind certain thoughts such as my name, my gender, my history, my genealogy, what you do in the world. But who are you really? How do you know that you are? How do you know that you exist? If I say to you, are you in there? You would say, yes. To say yes, you would have to look. And where would you look to know that you were there? This is the turning our focus upon awareness itself. To answer the question, are you aware? The only thing that can answer that is what is aware. So this can be our practice as we go through our day. Simply ask the question, am I aware? And it will bring our focus from objects to the source of awareness. Think about a sensation you feel in your body right now. Let's pick the soles of your feet. See if you feel the sensation in the soles of your feet. Now, take your attention from the soles of your feet and put it on the part of you that is aware of the sensation. Turn awareness back on itself. Be aware of being aware. And see if the boundaries of your sense of self do not expand when you look at your awareness or awareness itself. Is there any bounds to awareness? And is this something that just came to you, or has it always been there? Did you just become aware of being aware? Hasn't it always pervaded the background of your experience? Hasn't it been with you from in every moment of your life? As a silent, ever-present witness. When you cried, it did not feel sad. When you were happy, it remained silent, peaceful. And is this not what love is made of? The capacity to be with anything and everything without judgment. Who are you? You are this. There's nothing higher, nothing deeper. But exploring its depths can be a mighty journey of deepening wisdom, love, clarity, spaciousness, equanimity. And so this will be our journey as we go forward together. As we continue over these next 4 weeks, we'll just continue to look for ways to unpack the old self and reveal who and what we truly are. And can be a very powerful experience for us, very practical. It will have wonderful implications for our lives, because the more we become aware of this spacious vastness of us, the more we are able to be with life in a non-anxious, truly creative, functional way. Doesn't that sound like an alternative that we would vote for? Yes? I'm in. You're in? Yes. Good.